All right, what's going on, my friends? 3 o'clock chat here. NFL free agency kicked off today, and the Seahawks made a big splash. Sam Darnold will be the new starting quarterback in Seattle. He agreed to a 3-year deal worth $100.5 million. This move coming just a couple of days after sending Geno Smith to the Raiders. Elsewhere, the Jets agreed to a $40 million deal with Justin Fields. The Commanders have acquired Pro Bowl left tackle Laremy Tunsil from Houston for 4 draft picks. Eagles pass rusher Josh Sweat is headed to Arizona, 4 years, $76 million. From the NBA, the Pistons over the Trailblazers last night on Bill Walton's celebration night, 119 to 112. Portland will be on the road tonight. They're in San Francisco against the Warriors. Denny Avdia, good news here, has been upgraded to questionable. Jeremy Grant is now doubtful. Our coverage will start with Blazers Game Day at 5. Tip-off will be at 7 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Coming up next, Trailblazers team president of business operations, Dwayne Hankins, is going to join me on the Rip City Drive. All right, big show today. We're going to talk about in 20 minutes our 50-50 raffle benefiting ALS Northwest. But to kick off the show, and we don't normally start the show with an interview, but when you're the president of business operations for the Portland Trailblazers, you can come on the show whenever you want. It's very much my pleasure to welcome Dwayne Hankins back to the program. Dwayne, good afternoon. Thanks for making time for the program.
Of course, Chad. I didn't know I could come on whenever I wanted. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, you've got an open invite whenever you want to come on. You know, I want to talk to you about last night because I've always thought that the franchise has done a great job of understanding the connection between the players and the fabric here in Rip City. And I thought last night was awesome. Bill Walton's celebration night with his teammates and family in the house. What did you think about the execution of the entire event?
I thought our team did a phenomenal job. I think, whenever you have a night like that where you can just honor someone that was as legendary for us as Bill Walton was, and you do it that way, I think it goes off really well. I mean, one of the things that's really key is being able to share those generations of players with the, bridging them with other generations, and I think we did a great job of that. I was actually talking to all of Bill's kids at the game before, and they talked about the last time they were at the game was when Bill's jersey was retired, and they said that was back in 1989, and some of them were the age that their kids were when they did that back in '89. So then to do this in 2025, when their kids were the age they were, and get to see what Bill meant to this franchise, and have their kids see that and get to experience that was a pretty incredible moment.
That's so cool. You know what was really awesome last week? I had a chance to speak with Johnny Davis, Nate Walton, Lori Walton, and Larry Steele, and it was great because they were all excited about the event. But what I heard from the family, Dwayne, was one, they were very thankful to the franchise for giving this opportunity to be able to get together like this. But what I heard from their family is that, hey, Bill was very adamant that he did not want a funeral, but we knew that there were certain places where there would need to be a celebration, and Portland was at the top of the list. And so when I heard the way that they spoke about the way that you guys treated them, what Rip City meant to Bill, and how they knew that Portland needed to have a chance to have that celebration to say goodbye to Bill Walton, it made me very happy to hear that connection there.
Yeah, I'm also touched to hear that. I think, again, you don't get the opportunity to celebrate one of your greats very often, and when you do it, you got to hit it out of the park. And I'm glad they felt that way. They mean so much to this franchise, and I'm just glad we were able to show that to them.
Yeah, it was terrific. We're talking with Dwayne Hankins, the president of business operations for your Portland Trailblazers. I've been dying to talk to you about this because it's unbelievable. I don't know what you expected when you made the switch to direct over-the-air broadcast, but were you thinking that you would be number one in league ratings, year-over-year growth? That's just awesome.
Yeah, I think we're excited. I mean, I think when the fans, we heard loud and clear that the games were just too difficult to watch, and we knew we needed to make a change last summer. And to be able to have a partner in K2 who's been phenomenal to work with, to have the games available in so many different ways, to have the games available on Blazer Vision, it's really come at such a fantastic time, obviously compared to last year, but then also with the way that we've seen the rise of the team. And so, those ratings that were reported last month were really before the team started to take off. And that was just, fans getting to watch the games. And since the last few weeks have taken over, we've seen ratings increase even more. So I think it's just all great timing, and really excited that the fans have had the opportunity to be able to watch games in a way they haven't before.
I was curious how this works because I know when you have like your own television partner, typically they'll cut you a check that you get up front to be able to carry your games on their network. But I'm wondering when you make your games available for free to everyone, don't you think long term that because more people are exposed to your games, there's easier access, that you have a chance to grow a younger generation of Blazer fans, bring in people that would have never watched the games before, that in the long run, the Trailblazers and the league as a whole will benefit because you have more people that have access to the games? Is that kind of the thinking behind the big picture view of direct over the air?
Yeah, man, I think that's what we're betting on for sure. Um, the long term viability of creating fans, the next generation of fans. Something that I've talked a lot about is, we're doing this because we want to create that next generation of fans and making the games available for folks to watch. There's just too much competition, whether that's everything from YouTube to video games to you name it. And so to be able to make the games available for fans to watch and make that, primetime viewing something that people see is really important. I think I told you this, Chad. I remember growing up, in Chicago and being able to watch Bulls and White Sox games, and you see Braves fans and Cubs fans all over the U.S. because of what WGN and TBS did years and years ago. So that's definitely the model that we're doing, and I think we can do it because we're lucky a little bit, and it's rare in the league, but we produce our own broadcast, and our team does a phenomenal job. I think we strive to be one of the best local broadcasts in the league. So our ability on the business side is make a great product, make it available for fans to watch, and then try to monetize it that way. And so we're not there yet, but we're getting there.
Wasn't peak childhood being able to flip on WGN and hear Harry Carey and then watch Michael Jordan?
Oh,
Seriously,
yeah.
For free. I would have paid big
incredible.
money for it. All right, we're talking with Dwayne Hankins. He's the president of business operations for the Trailblazers. All right, so with the Rip City Television Network, which is now on KUNP, which is one of K2's affiliates, how's that process coming along for what you want it to be? And do you plan on having more Blazer-type programming that will be on the network?
That's definitely the end goal. I think you nailed it, Chad. Like the hope is to turn that KUNP, what we call the Rip City TV network, into primetime Blazers viewing as much as possible, and have that be the home of all things Trailblazers. Fans can never get enough content, and so our ability to make those things available on that platform as much as possible, I think, is really important to us.
Oh, that's great news. I can only speak to the fans I've heard from, and you probably hear from some of the same fans that I do. From what I can, gather, after people got over the initial confusion about, the antenna and how to access, the K2 affiliates that are available, I think people have just expressed how thankful they are that the games are available and free and easy to access. What type of response have you gotten from, the games being on TV, and then also about the Trailblazers television network?
I think good. I mean, again, at first, I think it was a little bit of a transition, and kudos to our team internally here and the folks at K2 to get people, it's never easy to make that switch. So to get people educated on how to access the games, I think was really, really important. We didn't launch on KUNP till January 1st. So, if you weren't up to speed on how to use digital antennas, I think that was tricky for fans who are over the air. But now there's so many different ways. We continue to hear and listen to fans on ways to make the games even more available. So, we continue to work through that. We know we're not on every distributor. We're always working towards improving distribution where we can. But I think what we can say with a straight face is, there's several different options for fans to be able to watch games depending on, how you get your cable or how you get your games. So it's, we're doing our best, I think, there.
No, that's great, man. I'm on board with the vision and what you're trying to accomplish. I think it's awesome. Now, I was excited to see the news a couple of weeks ago on the plans to redesign the video scoreboard, Dwayne, which is now going to feature a center scoreboard that's 56% larger than the current one, with 2,992 square feet of LED display. And then the end zone stat displays are now going to be 24 by 50-foot video screens at each corner with a ribbon board between them. When you saw the renderings, how did it match the vision that you had when you started to get the ideas together for this?
Yeah, this was an exciting one. I think we've had this, in our thought process for the last couple of years. We knew we needed to do an update to the scoreboard. And we thought, well, what else can we do? How else can we bring this in arena experience to life? I think the exciting thing is for no matter where you're sitting in the building, you're going to get a really enhanced experience and an enhanced view of things that you could see. I think it allows for us to do a ton of increased storytelling, the ability to use those dynamic end zone boards, not just for the great stats that we already have up in those areas. I think we'll find a way to keep those. So for all the fans who are concerned about the future of the hustle board, the digital version will live on, and we're excited to see what that looks like. And then, it's exciting because I think it's obviously going to be ready for the start of the NBA season here in the fall. So tons of work to make it happen. Excited to do it. And one of the biggest, I think, in-arena, enhancements that we've done in quite some time.
What's funny, Dwayne, is that when I first saw it, I said, well, as long as they keep the hustle board stats, I'm cool with it. I'm like Paul Allen, man. I love the hustle board.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of fans are down
it's funny. What Paul always said was, the fans in the building should never have less information than the folks who are watching the games at home. And so we've really strived to do that as much as we can in the arena. And that's why you see the hustle board and Stat Central and all those player stats. And I think, again, we'll provide those, I think, to fans. There's just no way we couldn't. I think that's what sets our arena apart and what makes it really fun to watch a game in the arena. But the ability to kind of go away from that if we need to for like a game night intro or an open or, some big activation that we're doing, during our quarter break, I think that's what's going to be really exciting. So we're going to have all those great stats that fans are used to, but we're also going to be able to use those boards for some really exciting storytelling.
Dwayne, I love Paul Allen. I appreciated him. He saved the Seahawks. He saved the Trailblazers, and I knew that he wanted to win as much as anyone. But what is something that you learned from him that you still apply to what you do today?
Stay curious. He was so great and at asking questions and getting you to think differently and really just expand your mind and your horizons and learn about new things. And, he's always so great at that. And I think that's something I'll always take with me.
That's really cool. This week on the 13th at the Ritz-Carlton, Brooke Olzendam is going to host a women's summit brought to you by Umpqua Bank. It's featuring other women in the sports industry around the Pacific Northwest, and they're going to discuss how to break into a predominantly male-dominated industry, which we know is true. I love this, Dwayne, and, I speak to female students all the time and encourage them to pursue their dream of broadcasting or getting into the world of sports because right now the opportunities are growing for them. I'm glad you guys are taking time to encourage us throughout the month of Women's Celebration.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up, Chad. I think, one of the things that I know for sure is with how quickly this event sold out, maybe we're not having these kinds of conversations or events enough. There was obviously a great response to it. You were going to have a really dynamic group of speakers. I'm really excited for our folks to be able to hear from them. It's just going to be incredible. And, to be able to do this in the city that I think will become the epicenter of women's sports here very soon is just really exciting.
Well, and I can speak as a father because my daughter, who is now, 15 years of age, and she's in high school, and she loves Brooke. It's very powerful when you have someone like Brooke, who so many young ladies look up to speak about this and to put something like this together because I'm trying to encourage, my daughter that she can be whatever she wants to be if she's willing to put in the time and the sacrifice and the effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get that reinforcement from someone they look up to, there's real power in that, as you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And just to be able to see, someone who looks like you or, it comes from your background and to see the success that they've had in sports, I think is really great. We have a senior leader in our company. And, there were days when this person was asked, well, hey, you work for the Blazers, or are you a dancer? Which our dancers do a phenomenal job. They're great. But there's obviously more opportunity for women to work at a sports team than obviously being a Blazer dancer. So I think, we have roles in broadcast. We have roles on the business side. I think our executive leadership team, if you look at it, it's actually mostly female. So there's plenty of opportunity for folks who want to work in the sports industry, no matter where you come from, no matter your background. And I think that's something that we're excited about and want to share that message at the summit this week.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to ask you about. You guys have done a heck of a job the last couple of years with your HBCU to the pros and your HBCU weekends. You had the Howard University Marching Band. What was the philosophy with your discussions internally to really make this a primary focus? Because I'm a big believer in the HBCU schools and what they're doing. So are you pleased with your relationship and your partnership so far to be able to really push that and get the message out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to have the Howard Marching Band performing at our game in halftime and the national anthem, I think is the pinnacle of what an HBCU night should be. And, kudos to our team internally who helps build those relationships and forge that. But I think to answer your question, we view the Moda Center and the Rose Quarter as, Oregon's largest gathering place. And in order to be the true largest gathering place, we have to make this place welcome to everyone. And that looks different, again, depending on where you come from. And so the events that we have at the Rose Quarter, concerts and otherwise, we want to make sure we have a wide swath of different events. The games that we have for the Blazers, we're very intentional about the various heritage nights that we do, whether that's Black History Month or things like that. And so HBCU night, I think the league had made a huge investment in HBCUs a couple of years back, and we really wanted to jump aboard. I know we're very far geographically from HBCUs, but the power that they have, what they mean, the staff and alumni and other folks that we have involved in our organization, and making sure to do that event right and celebrate that the right way. Again, I have to give all of our kudos to our team because it's just such a powerful celebration, and it gets better every year.
No, it's terrific. You guys continue to knock it out of the park with the work you guys do in the community. I'm blown away by it, and you never seek the credit for it, but I'm going to give it to you guys. You guys are awesome with your outreach. Okay, let's put business aside for just a moment because I know you're a basketball fan. I want to know from you, how much have you enjoyed watching the young guys like Sharp, Scoot, Klingon, Denny Avdia, and Tamani Kamara grow and develop and improve as the season's gone along? Because it's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch. Joe's been working on this vision for some time, and to watch it come together the way it has, to watch these players embrace the way that Chauncey wants to see them play, and to see it all happen over the last few months has been awesome. And we were talking about this today, but there's a player for every sort of personality type. Like if you like the cool, laid back, player, there's Shaden Sharp, and if you like the hard worker, there's Tumani. Denny's like a Swiss Army knife, like jack of all trades kind of a player. So it's been so fun to watch the growth of these guys, the way they play together, the way they play for each other. There was that video clip of Tumani winning Defensive Player of the Month and Anthony announcing it over the PA. You just feel the love that this team has for each other, and it's really exciting to see them come together. And I think for our fans, like, this is just the start of what this team can become. So it's just such an exciting time to be a Trailblazers fan, to lock in, because I think this is going to be a really exciting run.
Oh, I'm with you that. I love seeing Joe's plan come together because now you can see the makings of what he's thinking, and I'm pretty excited about that. All right, the stage is yours, Dwayne. Did we touch on everything you wanted to? Is there anything else you wanted to get out to the people before I let you go?
I mean, I think the only other thing that I would mention is, it's gotten a little bit of a viral response, but we have these haptic devices through One Court in our partnership with Ticketmaster, where fans who are visually impaired are able to come to games and enjoy the games. And that's not a large group of people, but it just really it really captures our concept of making sure we welcome everyone to the Rose Quarter and for events, because we really want to make sure everyone can come here and enjoy the Blazers game or a concert or what have you. So just really exciting to share with that partnership as well.
No, it's great. And I've talked to I have a couple of visually impaired individuals who call into the show, and the one thing they love is being able to have access to your closed circuit in arenas, so they can listen to the broadcast and be able to have access to the play-by-play and be able to take in the game and enjoy it. And I think that's awesome, man. Because whether you can see or not, there are a lot of basketball fans out there. They want to know what's going on with their Trailblazers.
Exactly, yeah. That's how we feel as well.
All right, the president of business operations for your Portland Trailblazers, Dwayne Hankins, here on the Rip City Drive. Hey, Dwayne, I know you're busy. I appreciate the time. I wish you the best the rest of the season, and thank you for taking time to chat.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, Chad. Always a pleasure.
You got it. Dwayne Hankins, my friends, the Portland Trailblazers, who are in action tonight, taking on the Warriors in San Francisco. Tip-off is going to be at 7. When we come back, we'll focus in on our 50-50 raffle benefiting ALS Northwest. I'm going to be joined by Cassie Adams, their executive director here on the Rip City Drive. La, la, la. All right, Rip City Drive. I want you, well, basically, I want your help. I want all of you to step up. I need your help right now to join me in the fight against ALS. And we're in crunch time right now with our 50-50 raffle benefiting ALS Northwest. It's going to end tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. So we have just over 24 hours remaining to be able to get in, get your raffle tickets. You'll have a chance to win a few bucks, but most importantly, you're going to benefit ALS Northwest. And this is critical because they provide resources to families in need. And not just for the individuals who have been stricken by ALS, but also the family members who have to provide care. And there's a lot that goes into it, and the expense is outrageous, and they can help bridge the gap between what the insurance covers and what it doesn't. So go to ripcityradio.com, and if you scroll to the bottom, you'll find the little icon for the 50-50 raffle ALS. Hit that, and then you'll have the link for where you buy tickets. And you get 400 tickets for 100, 100 tickets for 50, 25 for 25, or 5 for 10. And it's powered by our good friends at Coors Light who are making this possible, and ALS Northwest. And again, it doesn't matter whether you spend $10 or $100. Every dollar is going to count, and you can be a part of something special. My grandfather passed away from ALS. Our good friend Mike Lynch of the Trailblazers, not even 40 years of age, was diagnosed last year. So we're helping people in this community, which is important. And joining me right now to discuss this is the executive director at ALS Northwest. It's my pleasure to welcome Cassie back to the program, and Cassie Adams from ALS Northwest. Cassie, it's great to have you back on the show. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back.
All right. So we got, let's see here, just over a day remaining. It's going to end tomorrow night at 11:59. People can still buy their raffle tickets and be a part of this. But I think the most important thing is for people to understand the importance of what you guys do. And I've talked about this on the show, but let's focus on this, Cassie. As we know, ALS is a horrendous disease, and not just for the person who comes down with it, but also the families that are involved who have to provide care, because there's a lot of time, effort, energy, love, and expense that goes into that. And from what I learned from you, insurance doesn't cover everything. Is that the case?
That's so true, Chad. Unfortunately, insurance really only, covers a very, very minimal amount of the resources and support that people living with ALS and their families need. A great example is that insurance doesn't cover any sort of home accessibility modifications. So that is completely up to the person to have to navigate. And one of the ways that we really lean in as an organization to support people is that we have social workers all across the state of Oregon and 6 counties in Southwest Washington who can go out to the homes of people living with ALS and their families, spend time with them in their home, help them navigate not only the resources, but also looking at the physical space and making suggestions and modifications. Another area, Chad, where insurance is just significantly lacking is around medical equipment. Whether they cover an item or not, it is often much slower than is needed for a person who is rapidly experiencing mobility changes. So we have equipment loan closets all across the state that can help supplement what insurance can't cover or what they're not able to assist with in a timely fashion.
Well, that's a great place to start, Cassie, is with the let's say a wheelchair, for instance. My grandpa was confined to a chair, his recliner that he sat in most of the time, but when he had to go somewhere, he was in the wheelchair. But a power wheelchair to have proper mobility, like if you were to pay out of pocket, what's a price range for what it would take to get a proper wheelchair for someone who has mobility issues due to ALS?
Yeah, the type of chair that you're describing is at the low end, about $80,000 out of pocket.
My God.
And I know, it's pretty stunning. And, obviously.
Cassie, who can afford $80,000 out of pocket for a wheelchair?
No one, exactly.
Jeez.
And insurance can help with that cost. But like I said, Chad, what we frequently see is that by the time the insurance has justified the power wheelchair for a person, they already need it. So we're able to kind of come in, loan them a power wheelchair that they can use as long as they need to use it. If they can't afford a copay, great. They're going to continue to use that chair as long as they need. Or once that copay has been, paid, we can help them get a chair that's really sized and adequate for their needs. But you're right, 80 grand out of pocket is just astronomically crazy.
Okay, so let's talk about the urgency here. So, in most cases, when someone is diagnosed with ALS, how long does it take before their mobility issues become a problem? How quickly is the deterioration where you're diagnosed, all of a sudden you can't move and you need a wheelchair or other assistance to be able to get around?
Yeah, it's a great question. There is a huge sense of urgency with ALS because what we do know is that on average, it takes about a year for a person to get an ALS diagnosis after they show their first symptoms. So it's not uncommon that a person gets diagnosed and they are already having issues with their mobility. And that's because ALS is still in many ways a mystery to us. We don't understand what causes the majority of cases, and it takes a really long time to get to the diagnosis. So it's critical that we have the ability to step in very quickly when people are diagnosed because they likely already have mobility changes and they may have other symptoms that they're experiencing as well, like changes with their speech, their swallowing, and sometimes their respiratory function as well.
All right. Now, with the modifications to a house, I'm assuming this could go, a lot of times we're talking about doorways, being able to have enough room to enter with a wheelchair or the proper, walkway to get up to your doorstep to be able to get in the house. And then obviously once you're inside of the house, depending on, how wide some of the hallways are or stairwells or things like that, you're talking about all of these type of modifications, right? Like what are the typical issues with a home with someone that needs modification?
Yeah, exactly what you just said, ramping to get into the homes, even one small stair, which might, not seem like a big deal to those who are able-bodied, are significant barriers for people living with ALS. So we're thinking about ramping, we're thinking about widening doorways, we're thinking about the bathroom. And modification for using the bathroom. A small threshold into a shower is not going to be sufficient for a person living with ALS. So many families are having to not only navigate the just emotional toll of getting this kind of diagnosis for the person and their family, but they're always also have to thinking about, remodeling their bathroom or modifying their living situation. It's so much to navigate and, we are able to provide some financial assistance to help offset some of those costs, as I mentioned, loan out equipment, and really just help navigate people through all of the different steps that they have to consider because it's enormous, as you said.
We're talking with Cassie Adams, Executive Director of ALS Northwest here on the Rip City Drive. So you mentioned ALS being, there's a mystery behind it, because there's still so much to learn about it. Do you think that's part of the reason why it's been challenging or more challenging for those fighting against ALS to get the support and the financial resources necessary? Because it seems like with certain forms of cancer or different, nonprofits that are out there, it's easy to wrap your mind around what it is and what the fight is, and therefore people are more willing to jump on board. Do you think the mystery behind ALS is one of the challenges that you face?
Absolutely. Hearing scientists and clinicians who are working in the ALS space, it's a very challenging diagnosis. We don't really, as you said, we don't really understand the mechanics. We don't understand what is really causing the disease. So it becomes a challenge to figure out exactly how we're going to treat it. We have come some way. We do have 3 drugs that are now on the market that have shown some minimal slowing of the disease. But at this point, we have nothing close to a cure. I will say another area that really makes this challenging is that ALS is still considered a rare disease. And funding for research is a significant barrier and challenge. The federal government is actually the largest funder of ALS research. And so we are really counting on the ability to continue to do that research and get more funding towards the research efforts for it to, get to a place like cancer or some other diagnoses, but just have more awareness.
Oh, my goodness. All right. So walk me through the process so that people understand. So let's say that I'm diagnosed with ALS and me and my family come to ALS Northwest. Like, what's the process when someone's diagnosed? And then just walk me through the steps, the process that you guys do in assistance for those in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. So The second somebody is diagnosed, whether they're reaching out to us directly or we have a streamlined referral process from all of the ALS physicians here in Oregon who work with people living with ALS. We pretty immediately have one of our care coordinators reach out directly to that individual to introduce them, provide information about our organization, and offer to go out to their home and sit and meet with the family. It's not uncommon for us to go out and sit with a person and their family for 3 hours at their home, just to answer questions, talk through next steps with them. And we're pretty immediately able to get people plugged into any resources that are right for them at that moment in time, whether it's a support group, medical equipment loans, support through the specialty ALS care clinics here locally, financial assistance, and also helping people with planning ahead. As I mentioned before, it's not uncommon that people will experience changes with their ability to communicate, whether it's speaking or accessing technology, like, things we take for granted, like being able to send a text message easily and quickly on our phone. We're able to support people around their changing symptoms to be able to ensure that they can communicate and participate in the things that they enjoy and love.
Our raffle, 50/50 raffle benefiting ALS Northwest, is going right now, and we have until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night to purchase raffle tickets, and then we'll announce the winner on the 12th of the raffle. You can get 400 tickets for 100 tickets for 50, 25 for 25, or 5 for 10. It's powered by our good friends at Coors Light, and every dollar counts. And again, you have until 11:59 tomorrow night. Go to ripcityradio.com, scroll down, and hit the icon for 50/50 raffle, and you'll have the link to be able to purchase your tickets. And we need your help right now. Every dollar makes a difference. We are talking with Cassie from ALS Northwest, the executive director. Cassie, thanks for coming on. And I'm encouraging people to get out and buy raffle tickets before 11:59 tomorrow night. But I thank you for your time and expressing the importance and the urgency in getting the support necessary to help these families in need.
Chad, we so appreciate it, and we're so excited about this 50/50 raffle. Anything that folks can do to contribute, know that it goes to supporting people living with ALS and their families, and boy, do they need it.
No question. Thank you, Cassie. There you go, Cassie. ALS Northwest, that's what we're trying to work with and benefit. Cassie Adams, executive director. Oh, my gosh. I got to be honest with you. ALS can kiss my ass, all right? It's horrific. I saw my grandpa. I never got to see my grandpa walk or talk. He had a typewriter next to his chair, and he would type messages to us. And I would sit and spend a lot of time with him. He loved golf, and he would have me put records on for him. We'd listen to music, and he could make groans and sounds. But what was apparent to me was, like, my grandma. My grandma dedicated her life, marriage, like sickness and in health. My grandpa, he wasn't even a good husband before I was born. Not good. But when he got sick, my grandma was there at his side the whole way. And she actually died before he did. But we're talking about every morning, because I'd spend summers out there with my grandma. And they didn't live in a big house in Ponca City, Oklahoma. It was small. But she would get up every morning early, and her day did not begin until she took care of Grandpa. So she would get up, she would get him out of bed, she would wheel him into the bathroom, shave him, bathe him, brush his teeth, then fix food for him and get him taken care of. And that took a couple of hours. So until he was set and ready to go, her day couldn't begin. And she did this every day, 7 days a week, busting her ass for a guy that wasn't the best of husbands. Oh, it was horrible. But I respect my grandma, and my grandpa he loved us the best that he could in his way in that condition. But, I'd take him for, wheelchair rides around the neighborhood sometimes. I think he enjoyed it because, kids tend to push the wheelchair a little bit faster than the adults do. But if we were horsing around, me and my brother, or when my cousins were there, if we were horsing around, he would write messages to us on the typewriter, like settle down or whatever, because he didn't want one of us to get hurt. Even with ALS, he's like, he knew when nonsense was taking place. But I remember, and I'm talking about small house. So there was like 2 bedrooms, small house. But in between one of the doorways going into the kitchen, he had one of those little, there were like notches on both sides of the door, and you put the bar up there for like a pull-up bar. And so my grandpa would do, he was a pretty strong dude, so he would do pull-ups, and my grandma would assist him so he could get some upper body strength. And then he had one of those, those deals. I don't know what you call them, but it almost looks like a pair of pliers, but you hold it in your hand, you squeeze it because it develops hand strength. So he'd do like hand exercises. He'd do the pull-ups there in the doorway going into the kitchen. And then I remember when like a Richard Pryor movie would come on HBO, he would write a message and tell me and my brother to get lost because he didn't think it was appropriate for our ears. But a horrendous disease. So what do I need from you? Your support. Go to ripcityradio.com, scroll down, hit the icon for 50/50 raffle, and then buy tickets, all right? Buy tickets. You'll have a chance to win some money, but most importantly, you'll be assisting in the fight against ALS, which is important, not just to me, but to so many people in the community. And you can make a difference. So whether you're spending $5 or $100 or whatever, I don't care. Just go buy raffle tickets. Show me your raffle tickets and join the fight against ALS. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. We're going to talk with Sean Hike and our Trailblazer Insider coming up at 4:20. And then I've got some thoughts on free agency as well. The Seahawks have a new quarterback, and it's an upgrade. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm down with George Michael. I was jamming some of his music this weekend. I was singing Father Figure in my car, and my daughter was begging me to stop. And also, my daughter's going to be in just a crap mood over the next couple of weeks. She's in that phase right now where she's got a best friend, and when her best friend's not at school, she mysteriously gets migraine headaches and wants to come home. Well, her friend's having some type of jaw surgery, and she's going to be out for 2 weeks. And so I took Kaylee to school this morning, and she was surprisingly not in an awful mood, but I can't wait to see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see. We'll see. But it's really weird. It's like, can you function without her? Like, what's going on here? What's up with that? So we'll see how things progress over the next couple of weeks. Sean Hyken, from Rose Garden Report, our Trailblazer Insider, are going to join me at 4:20. We'll get his take on what went down last night with Bill Walton Knight, the latest on Denny Avdia, and where the team is at with their young guys as we have, 16 games remaining, 17 games? We are nearing the end of the basketball season, and the young guys continuing to show up and show out, which is nice. That's what we want. All right, NFL free agency kicked off today, one of my favorite times of the year. How about the Seattle Seahawks landing Sam Darnold? 3 years, $100.5 million. That's not a bad price for a quarterback at his level. So Darnold had a monster year last year with Minnesota after being rehabbed elsewhere in San Francisco by Kyle Shanahan. Got his chance with Minnesota, played with Coach O'Connell, who's an awesome quarterback guy and great talent on that roster. Had a big year, had a rough end of the season, but now he gets paid by the Seahawks. I think it's a great move. They moved Geno Smith, and they get Sam Darnold. And I like Geno Smith, but we all know that he's not the big-time difference maker at quarterback. He was good for what he was, for what they needed at the time. Now, I respect Geno Smith. His story is amazing. And I'm a big fan of quarterbacks who wash out with horrendous franchises and then continue to work and grind and get their opportunity. And when they get that second opportunity, they make the most of it. We've seen that from guys like Geno Smith, who was a washout with the Jets. Baker Mayfield, who washed out with the Browns, got rehabbed by Sean McVay, wound up in Tampa. Now he's balling out. And we're seeing it with Sam Darnold, another washout from the Jets, who got his rehab stint in San Francisco and got the stamp of approval from Kyle Shanahan. And then Kevin O'Connell scooped him up, and then the rest is history. I love that. I love guys that continue to battle even when other franchises try to ruin them. You can pretty much guarantee that if you're drafted by the Browns or the Jets, that your career is going to suck because those franchises are a complete disaster. Absolute disaster. Now, I will say this about the Browns, and it's painful for me to say this, but I credit them for not trading Garrett. One of the best defenders in the league. And they're like, no, we're not doing it. They were actually telling the truth. I thought what was going to happen is when they came out and said, we're not moving Garrett, that it was going to be a case where they were going to move Garrett, where they were going to say one thing, but then they knew they had no choice but to make the move. But instead, they get him locked up. You know, sometimes when you have good players like that, it's like, no, we drafted you, we developed you, and we don't want you to go anywhere. But Sam Darnold should work out well for the Seahawks. And, John Schneider, how can you not respect that guy? It's really hard to question most of his maneuvers. He's done a great job the last couple of years in the draft. He continues to gain more power within the organization. Good decision maker, knows how to acquire assets, and he positioned himself perfectly. They moved out DK. They got more draft capital to work with. And they made the move to get Geno down to Las Vegas, and now they make the move on Darnold. It's a major upgrade at quarterback. And now the best part is you look at the NFC West, it's like, okay, so the Rams and the 49ers are in decline, and you got the Cardinal. Like, the Seahawks are probably the odds-on favorite to win the division now. And their title odds improved with all the moves that have gone down over the last week. And you get Sam Darnold at a pretty good price for a starting quarterback at 3 years and $100 million. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. Hope you're having a fabulous Monday. I don't know what happened. We had great weather yesterday, cruising down to the arena. Left the arena last night. It was raining and hideous, and it was freezing balls this morning at like 40 degrees. Very temperamental right now. But we did get the time change. Longer days are ahead. Golfing weather's around the corner. And it'll take me a couple of days to recuperate from the time change. But once that happens, man, we're in the prime time of the year now. All right, 4 o'clock. NFL free agency kicks off today. The Hawks made a big splash. Sam Darnold, the new starting quarterback in Seattle, on a 3-year deal worth $100.5 million. This move coming just a couple of days after sending Geno Smith to the Raiders and DK Metcalf to the Steelers. Elsewhere, the Jets have agreed to a $40 million deal with Justin Fields. The Commanders have acquired Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil from Houston for 4 draft picks. Eagles pass rusher Josh Sweat headed to Arizona, 4 years, $76 million. From the NBA, the Pistons over the Trailblazers last night, 119-112. Portland's back at it tonight. They'll be in San Francisco against the Warriors. Denny Avdia has been upgraded to questionable, and Jeremy Grant now doubtful. Our coverage is going to start at 5 with Blazers Game Day. I'll have the Trailblazer pregame show at 6, tip-off at 7. Travis Demers will be on the call. And we'll talk to Sean Hike and our Trailblazer Insider coming up at 4:20. Now, this is actually a very underrated Genesis song. Love it because he's cracking on some of these prosperity gospel television evangelists. Like, who's that one clown? Oh, let's give a hand for the Lord. Is it Benny Hinn? Is that who it is? Oh, let's give a hand for the Lord. And the guy's like rolling around in a private jet and like bumping into Bentley, which is mad cash. I'm sorry, but if you're spreading the gospel and you're making millions in the process, there's something that's highly unsavory about that. Wild. All right, Sean Hyken, our Trailblazer Insider, is going to join us coming up in 20 minutes. We'll get his take on a variety of different topics, and I'll get back to the NFL free agency at 4:45. Got to admit, props to the Seahawks. Scotty Bethune has chimed in. He's a bitter Baltimore fan, probably because they forget who they really are in the postseason and they lose games. And he's probably mad that they stole away Mike McDonald from his franchise. He said, Chad, I hope I'm not wrong, but Darnold is going to be more Jets Darnold than first 16 games in Minnesota Darnold up in Seattle. And I'm here for it to enjoy it. I think Darnold's fine. The key is he's not going to be New York Jet Darnold. He's going to be Seattle Seahawks Darnold, who is coming out of Minnesota where he played great football. So the Hawks are a good franchise. The Jets are not. It is what it is, man. Like, if you're drafted by the Jets, you're done. You can just pretty much chalk that up to an L. I am going to suck. There are certain franchises that you know to be inept, and they're not going to handle you well. And this is why I don't have a problem with quarterbacks that are like, I'm not playing for you. Well, why shouldn't you be able to do that? Why shouldn't you say, wait a second, you guys suck, and you've proven to be inept at handling quarterbacks. I'm not going to let you destroy me. I'm not playing for you. I don't have a problem with it. If you've got the bargaining power and you've got the cojones to be able to say, no, I'm not playing for you, and I'll do something else until you finally deal me or deal the rights to me, then more power to you. John Elway did it and was quite successful in the process. He had the ability to play baseball. He used that as leverage, and he told the Baltimore Colts, I'm not going to your franchise because you guys are not good. You're not well run. You don't know what you're doing, and I'm not playing for you. Now, he took a lot of criticism from people around the league, but he ended up forcing their hand, and he got traded to Denver. And, oh, by the way, it turned out to be the right move because guess what? Shortly after that, Baltimore hightailed it out of town and wound up in Indianapolis. They were a mess of a franchise at the time, and he knew that. His dad knew that. His dad had been around the game for years. They were smart. The same thing with Eli Manning. I'm not going to the Chargers. You guys don't know what you're doing. And they didn't. And so he went to the Giants, and won a couple of Super Bowls. There's nothing wrong with using leverage if you got it. It's like, no, I'm good. I don't need to play for you. If the Jets said they wanted to draft me, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to go play for you because I've seen what you've done with all your other quarterbacks. Just name one. Aaron Rodgers, disaster. Sam Darnold, disaster. Geno Smith, disaster. They've been a crap franchise for decades. Decades. And the Browns, too. The Haslam family is a bunch of buffoons. They're like the Dallas Mavericks of the NFL. No clue of what they're doing. Idiots. Absolute morons. Hey, I have a good idea. Let's give Deshaun Watson, the creeper, $230 million. Fully guaranteed. Fully guaranteed. And then the lady Haslam came out and said he was rehabbed or something stupid like that. It's bad business. And bad franchises that are at the top of the draft every year are there for a reason because they don't know what they're doing. They're dumb. Just like the Dallas Mavericks. I don't need an NBA insider to tell me that was a bad trade. If you trade a top 3 player in the world for an aging star in Anthony Davis because you're worried about Luka's availability and you're bringing in a guy who's got worse availability than Luka, then I know you're dumb. And you only get 1 draft pick in return, you're stupid. I don't need someone to explain that to me. I don't need an insider. I don't need a front office insider. You traded Luka, therefore you dumb. All right? There's some things we don't need help with. That would be one of them. You traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers. Not only did you trade Luka, which is really bad, you gift wrapped him to the Lakers for nothing. It's like Pau Gasol all over again. Now, I was down with the Pau Gasol move because I love Kobe. And I wanted Kobe to have a running mate, and he got one. But again, they handed him Pau Gasol for nothing. It's just, whatever, man. Nico, it's crazy. And that was wildly entertaining. I'm actually excited about the playoffs. We're going to see Jimmy Buckets with the Warriors tonight for the first time. The Blazers are going to be down there. They're suddenly fascinating, and they're a dark horse in the Western Conference. And the Lakers with Luka and LeBron, dark horse in the Western Conference. I still favor Oklahoma City, but those teams are factors now, as is Denver. But Oklahoma City is the best. I thought Shea Gilgeous-Alexander sent a statement yesterday. Now, I would vote for Jokic as MVP. I don't care how many times a guy wins MVP. If he's MVP, you should be voting for him. Don't vote for the other guy just because you're tired of voting for one guy. But Shea Gilgeous-Alexander yesterday laid the smackdown. They destroyed the Nuggets in the fourth quarter. They won by 24, and he had 40 points, 8 boards, 3 steals. Game over. It was dominant. Now, for the Trailblazers, yesterday, they had Bill Walton celebration night, which was near perfect, but they lose the game 119 to 112. They had 3 chances with a minute and just under a minute remaining to hit a 3 to tie the game. They got a wide-open 3 from Duop Reef, brick. They got an open corner 3 for Kamara, brick. And they got an open corner 3 for Sharp, brick. The Blazers on the night, 15 of 50 from downtown. They put up 53s. I mean, Coach Billups said after the game he was happy with the looks, but they just couldn't get the shots to go down. But the scheduling is, well, it's absolutely absurd. And Coach Billups was asked about the fatigue. You end a 7-game road trip Friday night in Oklahoma City. You come back home, you play a game on Sunday, and they're back on the road tonight in San Francisco to play the Warriors. And then they're back home for a game on Wednesday against the Knicks. So here's Coach on fatigue.
It's always tough, and I don't make excuses, but I told one of our coaches earlier, this is like this is like a road game. You come off a 7-game trip, 2 weeks, and you turn around and got to play tomorrow on the road. I mean, we should have just played the Pistons at Oracle and then played the Warriors tomorrow at Chase. This is a long trip. Is basically what it is, to be honest with you. So it's just a terrible, terrible scheduling thing, but it is what it is. We go out there and lay it on the line every chance we can.
Yeah, brutal scheduling gap by the NBA, but this is something every team faces at the end of the year when they have a billion games in just a matter of weeks. He also shared more thoughts on the loss.
We had some great opportunities in that fourth quarter. We really did, man. I was proud of our guys for just sticking with it, continuing to make the right pass, the right play. So many times over and over and over, we had chances to either tie it get back, make it a one-possession game. Man, we did the right thing. We played the right way. I thought that was a goaltending call. It was a big momentum swing for us as we were kind of going, and Ant was kind of on a burner. That was a big no call, I thought, in the game. We gave ourselves a chance. We played hard, man. Played really hard.
Yeah, the Pistons also dominated the paint. And as I mentioned, the Blazers couldn't make the threes. Here's the coach on those three-point shots, 50 of them, and the domination by the Pistons in the paint.
You want one of them to go, either your baskets at the rim or your threes. You know, for us to get up 50 threes in this game, I'm not mad about that. And most of us know that Isaiah Stewart is a shot blocker. And even though he's short in stature, you know, he's a really good shot blocker. He's very physical. And it took our guys a long time to realize that maybe a pump fake might help down there. And that's just youth and knowing your personnel and knowing who you're playing against, and it cost us today.
I got to give props to the Pistons. Do you realize they won 14 games last year? Worst team in the NBA, and now they're sitting there at 36-29, sixth in the East. They're going to be a playoff team. Like what I see from Cade Cunningham, but the player I was most impressed with last night was just seeing Jalen Duren in person. Physicality, his athleticism. He reminds me of Orlando Woolridge from back in the day. Same type of shoulders. He's got a great physique, but he had a big-time game, double-double. And finally, Coach Billups was asking about scoreboard watching. You know, the Blazers are in contention for a play-in spot right now. How does the coach handle that? Do you worry about the scoreboard? Do you pay attention to the standings? What's up?
Where I stand on that, Sean, is I just know that we have to play good basketball. I never look at it and think like when you need help from people, you start looking around for all the help. I don't like to need nobody, you know. So I want us to just play well and then see what happens. Yeah, we just got to keep playing well. We keep playing as hard as we did tonight. Get some of those threes to go in, you know, get some of those finishes to go in, and we look up in 2 or 3 weeks and see where we at, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at. There could be other people that could be different on that, be watching every day. I really don't have time to be watching that every day.
All right. So there you go. And he's just worried about how his team's playing. All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk with our Trailblazer insider, Sean Highkin from Rose Garden Report. We'll get his take on what's the latest with Avdia and the quad contusion, Jeremy Grant, and where the franchise is at with their young players who are rapidly developing. And then tip-off tonight at 7. I'll have the Trailblazer pregame show at 6. And Chris Burkhardt standing by. He'll have Blazer Game Day at 5 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, joining us now on the Rip City Drivers, our Trailblazers insider from Rose Garden Report on social at Hyken. Sean Hyken is back with us. Sean, I don't know what you thought, but I thought the Blazers did a great job of celebrating the life of Bill Walton last night at Moda Center with some of his former teammates. His wife was in town. Obviously, Luke Walton is on the staff with the Pistons. But all in all, I thought it was a good night. What'd you think?
Oh, I thought it was really cool. I thought the headbands that they gave out to fans, I think that was like a nice touch. It was a pretty nice tribute. It was all the video stuff they did was great. I think having a Grateful Dead tribute band play at halftime was a nice little touch. So no, I thought overall they did a great job with the evening and just all across the board. And they had some of his former teammate Lionel Hollins talk to media beforehand. So, they involved a lot of those people with it. And, no, it was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a heck of a job. I had a chance to talk to one of his sons, Nate. I talked to Lori during the week in preparation, and they were all very thankful to the Trailblazers for, the way they were able to put everything together and make it very special. For the Blazers, Coach Billups talked about this after the game, the fatigue factor. They finished up the 7-game road trip Friday in Oklahoma City. They're back home for the game last night against the Pistons and back on the road late last night to San Francisco for a game tonight against the Warriors before they come back home for a game against the Knicks on Wednesday. I realize that every team has to go through this on some level, but this portion of the schedule is brutal.
Considering that they were just at home for 2 days, for basically really one night, because they flew back from Oklahoma City.
Yep.
Then they played yesterday. And then last night, I know that they flew last night. They didn't fly to San Francisco this morning. They flew there last night after the game. So it's really a 9-game road trip. It's just one of the games happens to be like a stop at home. I know that this is something the Blazers struggle with kind of probably more than most teams every year, just because Portland is so isolated geographically from the rest of the cities in the NBA. And this is one of the things I think in 3 or 4 years or whenever the Seattle expansion team is actually able to get off the ground, I think that's going to make some of this stuff a lot easier for the Blazers, because there's going to be a little bit more of a teams in driving distance that, they'll be able to. And then also if like Vegas is there, that's another West team that's going to make, if they have some of these long road trips, maybe it could be some of these closer cities. So yeah, for right now, this is a challenge that they kind of have every year. At least they only had one 7-game road trip this year. Last year they had 2.
All right, Denny Avdia, he did not play last night. Still got the quad contusion. What's the latest on his status? Will he be out tonight? What do you expect for Avdia when he'll be back on the floor?
If he didn't play last night and the first night of the back-to-back, I haven't heard anything, but I'll bet he probably just sits out tonight too, just give him the extra day of rest, because then they start this homestand, especially because after the game on Wednesday against the Knicks, they've got 3 days off before their next game, which isn't until Sunday. So I would guess he probably sits out tonight, but not, and then, we'll see what happens on Wednesday.
You asked Coach Billups about the standings last night after the game with the play-in situation and the Blazers being in contention. I kind of liked his response where he's like, hey, I don't worry about what other teams are doing. I just know we have to focus on being the best team we can be, and if we handle our business, we'll put ourselves in position. A very logical approach for Coach.
Yeah, but then he asked Ant the same thing after the game, and he was like, oh, yeah, I look every day. I look at what Phoenix is doing. I look at what Dallas is doing. I look at what Sacramento is doing. I think everybody, like obviously Chauncey gave a perfectly logical and, sensible answer to that question. But I think any of these people, just like when players or coaches say, oh, I don't read social media, I don't know what anybody's saying about me. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Of course.
They know where Phoenix and Dallas and Sacramento and all these other teams are in the standings that they have to catch. And obviously the main message is they need to control what they can control. It doesn't really matter what anybody else's schedule is, or like Dallas losing Kyrie for the season and that meaning they probably fall out. And, their schedule being whatever their schedule is, and the Blazers being however many games back behind Phoenix and behind Dallas. If the Blazers don't win their games in front of them and do what they need to do, then none of that stuff is going to matter. And I think that's really the message Chauncey was trying to send. But I don't really buy that he wasn't looking at it at all and doesn't know where any of this stuff stands. Like, that's just, if you're in that position, you're going to look, you're going to keep up with it, even if you say that you don't.
All right. Well, Coach Billups is normally pretty, he kind of delivers what he says, but you're right. He probably does look. And I agree with your take on the media, what's being written, what's being said. Whether they have official social media accounts or not, I believe every coach and every executive in the league has some form of a burner account so they can pay attention to what's going online to know what people are saying about them. I believe that 100%.
Terry Stotts used to always be like, saying something about like different things that people tweeted. By the way, Danny, tonight they just did the injury. They just put out the injury report for tonight's game, and this is actually a little bit of an update. Jeremy Grant, who has been back for the last couple of games after missing some time with knee tendonitis, he is now doubtful for tonight. Denny's questionable.
All right. Well, questionable. Well, I guess what that means for Denny, based on everything you've told me throughout the year, if he doesn't play tonight, he's almost guaranteed to play on Wednesday against the Knicks. But maybe with Grant likely trending out tonight, maybe we'll see Avdia possibly.
Denny's a guy where if he can go, he'll go. And I think we saw really the last two games, the Oklahoma City game at the end of the road trip that he missed, and last night against Detroit. Denny is the most important player on this team this season. He's been the one that's been driving a lot of these wins. And really, when they moved him into the starting lineup in place of Shaedon Sharpe, that's when this run started in mid-January. I think there's a chance, I don't want to say like, oh, they would have done this or they could have done this. If Denny had played last night, I think there's a real chance they could have gotten that Detroit game. They had a chance to win it without him, and I think if they had him, they would have, that game might have gone a different way.
Yeah, the game, what a wild finish for the Blazers. They finally got it to within one score. They did it on a couple of occasions late in the fourth, and then with just over a minute, Reith missed a wide-open three that looked like it was good coming out of his hand. And then on the next possession, they're down by one score. They get misses from downtown from both Shaedon Sharpe and Tamani Kamara. Both shots I thought were going in along with Reeves, and they just couldn't get the big shot to go down. You live by the three, die by the three, and last night they were 15 of 50, I believe. That's a low percentage. They just couldn't make the big shot, but they were right there. They continued to fight throughout.
They were getting a lot of threes up last night, a lot more than they normally do. Getting 50 up in a game is kind of crazy, especially for these guys where they haven't really made their bones this season on being a three-point shooting team. But yeah, some of those shots the ones that like the one that Wap got and the one that Shaedon got, like those were really good looks. Like you couldn't ask for better looks that they got to tie the game. They just couldn't get him to go down.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, yeah, I agree with your take on Avdia. Obviously he's not maybe at the same level defensively as Kamara, but he's a darn good defender. But I think what I've really liked about him on the offensive end is, he's showcasing his ability to score. He can hit the three-point shot. But the way he facilitates and sets up for his teammates, but also when you combine that with his willingness to push the pace, like he makes the offense better for everyone.
He's basically a 6'9" point guard in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, yeah.
And having somebody at that size that's able to do all that stuff is huge.
It really is. We're talking with Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. A couple of questions around the league I wanted to ask you. How about that 30-20-20 game from Jokic? That's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen, Sean. Seriously.
The craziest stat, and I'm sure you saw this too, was that he had a triple-double at one point in the game where he had like 13, 10, and 10 in the first half. And then he had a second triple-double the rest of the game.
That's insane.
Like if you took out his first 13, 10, and 10, then he had another triple-double like later in that game, which that's a different level of, Jokic is one of those guys where you see these insane stat lines he puts up and you're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. You just kind of like start to tune it out at a certain point because it's so normal for him. But one of those, that's one that's literally never been done in NBA history before.
I haven't even thought of it like that. He had two separate triple-doubles. His first, like a first half and a second half triple-double en route to a 30-20-20 game. What I thought was fascinating with Jokic's performance is that Denver goes into Oklahoma City yesterday, and you've got this battle for the MVP between Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And how about Shai stepping up with 40 points, 8 boards, and 3 steals, and the Thunder have that monstrous fourth quarter and destroy Denver by 24 points. I thought that was a great statement game for Shai.
Yeah, and I think, and by the way, they play tonight. They play tonight the rematch, and actually, we'll be able to see most of that game before the Blazer game starts at 7 because that game starts at 5. So we'll be able to see most of that game. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But Yeah, I think Shea is probably going to win MVP just because the Thunder are going to have such a far and away better record than Denver, and Shea has just been so good, he's been so consistent, he's been doing I think he's going to win the award, but I'm really glad. I'll just say this: I'm really glad I don't have a vote.
I was going to ask you, so you don't have an MVP vote?
I don't, and I actively don't want one. Like
Why not?
Someone else can deal with, especially now that like votes are public, and if you don't vote a way that a certain fan base likes, or you don't vote for their guy, you're going to get all the blowback for it. Like, I'll just someone else can have that. I'm good. I don't need that.
I know, but we need to have more level-minded individuals like you who have votes for the MVP, because I think you would do a good job. All I can say about the MVP award is this: look, I don't doubt that Shea is definitely deserving, and his team has been dominant. But the way I look at the MVP award is, the best player in the world is the best player in the world. I would give it to Jokic because I believe he's the MVP. Just like I thought Jordan should have gotten the MVP in a number of seasons, but they gave it to Charles Barkley and Karl Malone on years where they got tired of voting for MJ. And I think that's what it comes down to a lot of times is voter fatigue and people tired of voting for Jokic. But I do believe that Jokic is MVP. I haven't seen anything that would change my mind over the last couple of years. He's awesome.
This is one of those races that's so close that if somebody wanted to argue either side, I'm not going to really tell them that they're definitively wrong on it.
But you know what's great, too, about the postseason this year is like the player movement has really reinvigorated my desire to see playoff basketball. Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors and then Luka to the Lakers has made those two teams dark horses. So we could have some, matchups in the postseason where you could get like Oklahoma City and Denver or the Lakers and Denver. And then on the other side, you've got Golden State taking on, one of the other top teams. Like, you could have Golden State playing Oklahoma City or the Lakers or Denver. Like, I love those type of matchups. The player movement has made this even more exciting.
It has. It's certainly made more of those teams, have a real shot, because I don't think anybody would have thought the Lakers or the Warriors were real contenders in the West before they made the move that they made. Now, it's a little bit of an outlier when you talk about the Luka trade, because that type of trade usually just doesn't happen for a player that good in the middle of the season without, any kind of warning in advance that it's coming. But yeah, it's certainly, and especially, we'll see how LeBron does with this groin injury that he's got right now. He's supposed to miss a couple of weeks, so hopefully, at his age, you have to worry about that lingering. So hopefully, he's able to come back in time for the playoffs and be himself for the playoffs. And yeah, I'm not really counting the Lakers. I would still, obviously Oklahoma City has been far and away the best team in the West this year. I'm not going to count them out, but the Lakers are a real threat now. I would agree with that.
Now with the Trailblazers, so the game tonight against the Warriors and the upcoming homestand, this will pretty much tell us everything we need to know about the play-in, right? Because finally they're going to be playing a number of games against quality competition.
Yeah, on this, so they played Detroit last night. Detroit's a playoff team in the East. They're sixth. They have the Blazers coming up have 7 of 8 at home, because they got the game in Golden State tonight, and then they've got a 7-game homestand. But 6 of those 8 games are against playoff teams. The only games against lottery teams that they have in this upcoming stretch are Toronto and Washington. Other than that, everything is, they've got Golden State tonight. They got the Knicks on Wednesday. They've got Memphis. They've got Denver. They've got Cleveland. They've got Boston. So they kind of have to go. They already lost last night, so they kind of have to go, 5-3 or 6-2 on this little stretch before they go out on their next 5-game road trip if they really want this play-in thing to be realistic. And on this whole, on this whole run that they've been on, the only games that they've won against teams that are currently, top 6 playoff teams in their conference are the Milwaukee game and the Indiana game. Other than that, the teams that they've beaten, on this road trip, they've beaten Utah, Brooklyn, Washington, Philly. They beat Charlotte before that. They've beaten those teams. Then when they've had to play, Detroit last night, Denver a couple of times, Minnesota, Lakers, they've lost those games. Oklahoma City, Boston, Cleveland, so they got to start beating some of these good teams if they really want to make this a real possibility to make the play-in.
Yeah, there's no question about that. They've got to step up the level of competition. How do you feel like the team feels about where they're at right now with the guys that they have and the development of the young players?
I think overall the organization is happy, in particular with Scoot Henderson and with Shaden Sharp, who both of those guys, like Shaden barely got to play last year because of the injuries. And it's been a little up and down for him, but I think lately, since the benching and since Chauncey kind of called out his defensive engagement and focus. I think especially on this last road trip, he's responded in a big way to that, and he's been really good lately. And then with Scoot, it was a little rough last year and most of the first half of this season, and he's really turned it around too, to where I feel like they think he's like a viable part of their future now. So those two in particular, I think you can point to, the last year was kind of a wash for both of them, but this year there's been some real positive steps made there. And then you add in like how well Denny's fit in and how good Tumani's been. And, the Klingon thing's been a little bit up and down. It's tough for rookie bigs to get adjusted to the NBA, but I think they've seen enough from him, like the high points, that he's going to be fine. So I think a year ago, if you'd asked me like what the Blazers had to be excited about, I don't really know what I would have had to tell you. I probably wouldn't have had much. There's some real stuff to point to with this season, regardless of whether they end up making the play-in or not.
All right, Sean Highkin, he's with Rose Garden Report. He's our Trailblazer insider. And you can follow him on social at Highkin. Sean, you are the man. I love talking ball with you. Enjoy the game tonight. And then I look forward to seeing you at Moda Center on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
All right, big thanks to Sean. Love talking basketball with Sean. And last night was a lot of fun. He's right. I thought the Trailblazers did a heck of a job with Bill Walton night, the entire setup, the promotion, having the former teammates back, and, of course, seeing Laurie in the house. David Lucas was there. Like usual, the Trailblazers handled that type of situation with class, which was very nice. And I really enjoyed it. And it was even more special because the captain, Rich Patterson, who's going to join the program tomorrow, he worked his 3,000th consecutive game, and so we were able to honor him on the pregame show and on the postgame show. So the entire night between Caps number 3,000 and Bill Walton's celebration night, it couldn't have gone any better. It's unfortunate that the Blazers lost. I do like the way they continued to battle and fight. They got back in the game and had a chance. They just couldn't make the shot. They were ice cold from downtown, and it came back to bite them. But they put themselves in a position after struggling, especially at the start of that third quarter. Now, I will say this about Detroit, little side note on the Pistons. You got to remember with the Pistons, they were dead last. 14 wins last year. Dead last in the NBA. Awful basketball. And their coach got run. It was a bad situation, bad team, and they looked lost. But you see them play last night. J.B. Bickerstaff's done a heck of a job. And I really like watching Cade Cunningham play. I like his body. I like the way he moves. Very good ball player. But the guy I was most impressed with that I had a chance to see in person for the first time was Jalen Duren, their big man. Now, for those of you who are my age, you'll remember a guy from the late 80s, early 90s, Orlando Woolridge. I remember him mostly during his time with the Lakers, getting a chance to play with Magic. I also spent some time with Denver. He went around the league, but very good offensive player, tough guy. But if you look at Woolridge and his shoulders and how strong he was and the way he was built, he wore the number 0. Same thing with Duren. Same number and same type of body makeup with the shoulders and the strength and the size. And Duren last night with a double-double, but showing toughness. That Detroit team is a very physical basketball team, and they have a certain willingness to engage defensively. Like, they impressed me. I'm like, okay. It's not bad when you go from 14 wins to now having 36 wins, and they're good for 6th in the Eastern Conference. They're going to be a playoff team this year. Very impressive. I like to see stories like that. They're not going to win the championship, but to have a turnaround like that from year over year and to see some of the young talent that they've amassed, and they got some veteran presence there too with guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., it's a good ball team. It's fun to watch. And they physically, took it to the Blazers during stretches of that game, first half and second half last night. But all in all, very good night. The Trailblazers, they do a very good job of understanding the history and what it means to the fans, and they do a very good job of celebrating that. And when you can put that together on a night like last night that's so important to so many people because of what Bill Walton meant to the franchise, it turns out really good. So props. Had a good time. They handed out the headbands. It was great to see you guys out there at Moda celebrating. I just wish the Blazers could have gotten the win to make the night even better. All right, we'll come back on the Rip City Drive, and when we do, I want to touch on some NFL free agency notes. I love the start of free agency. I love that my Broncos are being active, but there's a lot of big questions to be answered around the league as the brand new football season is upon us. We got free agency, and then we'll get into the draft, and then before you know it, the camps will be back open, so it's big time. All right, Rip City Drive, Chad doing here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Game day with Chris Burkhardt coming up at 5. Tip-off down in San Francisco against the Warriors will be at 7. I would imagine you Seahawks fans got to feel pretty good right about now. The Seahawks have made it official, a 3-year, $100.5 million deal for Sam Darnold, who comes over from Minnesota as a free agent. And there was talk possibly that the Vikings would be able to come to some sort of deal with Darnold and bring him back as insurance with J.J. McCarthy coming off the injury. But that's not to be. He's now a Seattle Seahawk. And John Schneider, who has been very active, he has freed up cap space. They unloaded DK Metcalf. They're able to acquire some more draft compensation. And now he's got a lot of tools to work with. They have a quarterback in Darnold, a significant upgrade from Geno Smith. And now they can continue to piece things together. But the Seattle Seahawks, who were right there in contention last year, are going to be a playoff team in the upcoming season. Now, I love Sam Darnold, and I love guys like him, like Geno Smith, who flamed out in their first start. And this time, of course, Darnold with the Jets. It didn't work out, but he moved on. He was able to rehabilitate himself, spent some time under Kyle Shanahan at San Francisco, and then went to work with Coach O'Connell in Minnesota and had a big year last year. Now, he had a rough end of the season, but he was ultra productive last year. Ultra productive, very accurate, and he's a guy that has a good understanding of NFL defenses and can run the offense. So I'm pretty excited for the Seahawks and what they're able to do. And John Schneider is the type of guy where he's very calculated in his maneuvers. He obviously has a penchant for the draft and being able to secure assets to be able to work with. I think the Seahawks have put themselves in a very good position. You know, their defense was pretty good last year. Now they're going to get an upgrade at quarterback, and they'll be right there in position to make a run in the NFC West. You know, because they were right there challenging the Rams last year. The 49ers are in decline right now with their age and some of the players that they have lost, and they're going to have to invest more money to bring back Brock Purdy. So the Seattle Seahawks are actually sitting in a very pretty position right now. It's amazing. So big props to John Schneider. Now, I like the move a lot. I think Sam Darnold is a high-level quarterback. I don't know where you slot him. He's not a top 5 quarterback, but he's definitely a top 10, top 15 guy in the NFL. You can win ball games with Sam Darnold. And I like his leadership ability. I like his work ethic. I like his demeanor. He's a darn good quarterback in the NFL. And he's proven a lot because he's been able to overcome. And we've seen this now from multiple guys. And I like these type of character guys at quarterback. Geno Smith would be an example where he was drafted by the Jets, flamed out, was a journeyman, and then finally continued to work and battle until he got an opportunity with the Seahawks, and he was able to cash in and get a second life in the NFL. We saw it with Baker Mayfield. Things ended poorly in Cleveland. He was on the rebound. He wound up getting a little bit of work with Sean McVay with the Rams, and before you know it, he winds up in Tampa, gets a new deal, legitimate quarterback, goes to the postseason, and now he's back on track. And now we get a chance to see the same path with Sam Darnold. Started with the Jets, flamed out, got a chance to rehabilitate himself with Kyle Shanahan, wound up with the Vikings, and put up a monster year last year. I like guys who battle, who overcome, and prove that they can get the job done. So very excited for the Seahawks and what they're able to do with Sam Darnold. It's big time right there. Big time. It's huge. And with John Schneider, I trust him because he's got a track record of success, and rarely does he make the wrong choice. Rarely does he make the wrong choice. Now, elsewhere in the NFL, Justin Fields, there was talk whether or not he might wind up in Pittsburgh. He's reached a $40 million deal with the Jets. The Commanders have made a big trade with the Texans to get a left tackle and Laremy Tunsil. So once again, the Commanders, they get Deebo Samuel. They make a move to get Laremy Tunsil. They're going out of their way to make sure that Jaden Daniels is in a good position to succeed. And those teams with players like Daniels or someone like, Bo Nix, these teams with these quarterbacks on rookie deals, now is the time where you can go out and spend and be able to restructure your team to make that run before you got to start paying the quarterback. I love what the Commanders are doing. Beef up the offensive line and make things happen. The Chicago Bears have redone their entire offensive line by making some big moves, hopefully putting Caleb Williams in a position to have great success. Love that. I love seeing these teams be proactive in putting their young quarterbacks in a position to have success. And then for the Denver Broncos, they made a big splash on the first day of free agency, which kicked off at noontime by going out and getting safety Telenona Hufanga. Comes over from the 49ers. Big-time player, gets a 3-year deal in Denver. and I think it's worth a total of up to about $45 million. So a top 5 defense got better. So that's where we're at. So now the question is, who's going to be the rest of the first wave of free agents in the NFL? And then who are going to be some of the bargain guys that you can get, veterans, who you're going to be able to sign, but that's it. Man, Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. I knew when the deal went down, because I think a lot of Seahawks fans freaked out when they made the move to send Geno down to the Raiders so he could work with Pete Carroll again. You know, some Seahawks fans freaked out. But the one thing I did know, you're not going to give up a legitimate starter in Geno Smith unless you know for sure who your next quarterback is going to be. And that's when you start to hear whispers of Sam Darnold. I'm very happy for Darnold as well. You're able to get him, and not only that, but you get a quarterback at $100.5 million over the course of 3 years. That's a very reasonable price for a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's a lot better than the $50+ million that some of these other teams are paying, or the 49ers having to consider paying a guy like Brock Purdy $50 million. You get a guy like Darnold who's been ultra productive on a deal like that. And I would imagine for a lot of fans, maybe Seahawks fans, when it comes to Darnold, maybe it's a wait-and-see approach. Like you know what he did last year in Minnesota. It was legit, and he had a big-time year. But maybe you need to see it another year before you can fully jump on board. And I get that. But the one thing about Darnold, he's got the makeup that you need in that position, meaning he's going to put in the time. He's got a great understanding of the game, but he's going to work hard. His work ethic is legit. So he's going to put in the time to be the absolute best that he can be. So Sam Darnold, the new starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. Love the move. Love the move. So a lot of good things going on right now. Bears retool their offensive line. Caleb Williams will have better protection. The Commanders have gone about work to beef up the offensive line and bring in more playmakers for Jaden Daniels. The Broncos able to add to their defense at a position of need and getting a playmaker at safety. And the Houston Texans, in the deal for Tunsil, able to bring in some more, young assets to be able to continue to retool their team under C.J. Stroud. And they've got a chance to make a run. They're in that window as well. But I kind of like what they did. And my good friend Adam Clanton down in Houston, he's pretty critical of the franchise from time to time, as he should be. Bill O'Brien, who he refers to as the fake GM when he was there as coach, the last deal he made that, where he gave up a lot of assets to be able to get him was Laremy Tunsil. And so now he's gone. And so the last remaining part of what Bill O'Brien did for the team is out of there. So there you have it. That's where we're at. Sam Darnold, quarterback for the Seahawks. But I think Seattle now, you've got to go into the season next year and you look at it and say, we can win the division. We've got the ability to win the division. I like their coach and Mike McDonald. I like Sam Darnold. I like their defense. They've got good balance on offense. They've got the tools to be able to win that division now. Now, the Rams are going to be tough. They got Matthew Stafford back. Sean McVay's a heck of a coach, and they got some good young talent. The Rams are going to be legit. Can the 49ers bounce back? I'm not so sure about that. But right now, the Seahawks will be one of the teams looked at as favorites to win the division. And what more could you want as a football fan? Your team's being aggressive. They did a great job with the Russ trade to bring in assets. They've done a good job in the draft the last couple of years. They were able to pay at quarterback Geno Smith without, breaking the bank. And now you put yourself in a position with the DK Metcalf move and some of your other activity to go out and get a big-time quarterback in Darnold. And there you have it. And you know how it works with Darnold. Like, is he a top 5 guy? No. But if you surround him with the right players, you can compete and get to a Super Bowl with Darnold. And I expect Darnold to have another big year this year. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment for him going to a different team. He's not going to be working with Kevin O'Connell, who is an offensive guru and a quarterback guy. And he's not going to have the same type of skill position players, but he's got talent around him. So, man, if you're a Hawk fan, you got to feel good about that. So we'll keep an eye on NFL free agency. Trailblazers are coming up tonight at 7. Chris Burkhardt is standing by with BlazersGameday. And then tomorrow, I'm going to have the captain, Rich Patterson, on, who just worked his 3,000th straight game for the Trailblazers on Sunday. So we'll be joined by the great Rich Patterson. And also Brooke Olzendam will join me as the Blazers get ready for this big homestand. And we'll talk about some of the things the Blazers have going on this month with Brooke Olzendam. So there you have it. Big thanks to all of you. I appreciate your time. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday tomorrow. But right now it's Chris Burkhardt standing by with BlazersGameday. Tip-off in San Francisco against the Warriors with Jimmy Buckets. Our first look at the Warriors with Jimmy Buckets is coming up at 7. And I'll have the Trailblazer pregame show at 6 here on your home of the Blazers, 620, Rip City Radio.
scoots off to the races. He drives, throws it to Klingon underneath. He's trapped on the baseline. Up top for Kamara. He attacks and hammers it down. Puts Isaiah Stewart on a poster. Timeout, Detroit.
That sure was a nice dunk, wasn't it? Tumani Kamara giving us a contender for dunk of the year, right up there with Shaden Sharps last night. He had an absolute just explosion of a dunk. Forced that one down, put Isaiah Stewart on a poster. Some people say that's a dated reference. I don't think it is. I think you might still be able to find a poster on a wall here and there. Regardless, you know what it means in basketball terms. It means someone was put on the receiving end of a highlight reel, and Tumani Kamara did just that against the Pistons. But it wasn't enough, because when it was all said and done, the Blazers fell to Detroit 119-112 last night at Moda Center. Welcome into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here with you, getting you ready for Blazers versus Warriors tonight, as the Blazers have a quick turnaround. Again, they played last night at home against Detroit, and then tonight in the Bay against the Warriors. What a weird little scheduling quirk. Like, to go on a 7-game road trip, come back for one game, just to go right back on the road. That's kind of wild, kind of unfair. As Chauncey Billups said last night, it's almost like, just basically, might as well just call this a 9-game road trip, because that's kind of what it feels like, really, because all you're doing is running around and traveling. You're just going straight to the airport after a game, and it's just what it is right now. But you hope the Blazers can maybe get right the ship a little bit, get another W. They are now losers of 3 in a row, but keep in mind, they have lost 4 of their last 5, but those 4 losses have come against pretty good teams, right? They had the Cleveland game that they almost took in overtime. Then they got beat by the Celtics, where, Peyton Pritchard and Derek White absolutely went off. Oklahoma City kind of mopped the floor with them a little bit. Then you had the Detroit game, when, again, Detroit is a playoff team right now, and Portland played them hard. They had chances to win this game, right? Portland kind of got out of the gate slow, which might have been their undoing in the end. They scored just 28 points in the first quarter and trailed 31-28. But at the same time, Detroit at one point had a 17-8 lead to start the quarter, right? So Portland took a minute to get going. Once they finally did, turned into a pretty good ball game. Kind of started a little bit slow almost for both teams, it felt like, even though you look at the box score and you can see that, the Pistons scored 64 points in the first half. So the offense was there, but it just felt like neither team was just really lasered in. And then once they did, it came a pretty good basketball game, defensive stops, all that stuff, right? And Portland had their chances late. It was 113-110. Dwop Reith misses a wide open 3 from straight on, right on top of the arc there, right in front of the basket. He misses it. Blazers end up getting the ball back. They get a chance for Tumani Kamara in the corner. He throws up the 3. He misses it. They get the offensive rebound. They get a chance to get another 3. This time it's Shaden Sharp in the corner. He kind of rushes the shot a little bit, and he misses the 3-pointer. So 3 good looks from the Trailblazers, and neither Reith, Tumani Kamara, or Shaden Sharp could get the ball to fall, man. And that was their undoing. They needed that one. It would have been great to tie that ball game up, really put the pressure on, but instead they missed those shots. The Pistons go do their thing, hit their free throws. They win 119-112. Taking a look at the Detroit side of things, Tobias Harris had 20 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Asir Thompson had a kind of a rough night. He had just 5 points, 2 of 5 shooting. Wasn't uber aggressive. Did have 5 personal fouls, though. Jalen Duren, 18 points, 12 boards. And let me tell you what, I talked about him in the postgame show. I liked him coming into the league. Good young play. I did not realize just how thick he is. Like, he is a mountain of muscle, man. He moves so well. What a good young center they have there in Detroit. Tim Hardaway Jr., he played 27 minutes. He chipped in 13. Kind of did what Tim Hardaway does. Sits there in the corner, waits for the ball to hit his hand, and shoots clutch threes. Like that's what he did. He was 3 of 8 in this one. Had 5 shots overall, but 3 of them from beyond the arc. Cade Cunningham, 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. He also did have 8 turnovers, so the Blazers were doing a good job putting pressure on him. A lot of that was obviously Tumani Kamara. Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder went for 10 and 12 off the bench, respectively. On the Blazers side of things, Jeremy Grant had a bounce back game. He had 25 points, 6 of 11 from beyond the arc, 6 of 12 overall. That's right. Every single shot he made was a 3-pointer. He also had 2 rebounds and an assist. 7 points from Tumani Kamara. And of course, none of them will last as long in your memory banks as this one.
Scoots off to the races. He drives, throws it to Klingon underneath. He's trapped on the baseline. Up top for Kamara. He attacks and hammers it down. Puts Isaiah Stewart on a poster. Timeout, Detroit.
Yeah, that thing was incredible. And as people were asking, like, who's the better in-game dunker right now? Is it Tumani Kamara or is it Shaedon Sharpe? And it's like, okay, Shaedon wins with for the athleticism. Tumani wins when it comes to force, because boy, howdy, does he just throw those things down with some just intention behind it, right? He's going to just force that thing down. You're going to hear the boom, and you heard it in that one. He did, again, just 7 points, but he did also have 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He ended with 1 steal in this one. But let me tell you what, if you kept a stat of how many times he deflected a pass and someone else got it, or how many times he forced the ball out of the ball handler's hand and forced the team to reset, like, he was all over the place defensively. This was really, it felt like an A-plus defensive game from him. And you can look at that and go, man, just 1 steal. No, he was impacting just about every single pass, impacting every single player that he had to guard. It was another stellar defensive performance from Tumani Kamara. Donovan Klingon, he had 3 points. He had 9 rebounds. He had a couple of block shots. He also had 5 personal fouls. Shaedon Sharpe also had 5 personal fouls in this one. He had 12 points in 27 minutes. Anthony Simons led the way, 34 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Scoot Henderson, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists off the Trailblazers bench. But a big one in this one, we talked about it in the pregame show. Rebounding, right? They didn't rebound well enough to win this game. They got out-rebounded by the Detroit Pistons, 54-41. Portland also had just 17 assists to the Pistons 22. I also think you can look at the 3-point shot, man. Detroit on the night shot 43 of 87. That's 49.4% from the floor. They took just 28 3-pointers, hit 9 of them. That's 32%. They found ways to get into the paint, get those points, hit those mid-ranges. They were doing everything. Then you look at the Portland side of things. Portland, 36 of 93. So they took 6 more shots than the Pistons did. But 50 of those 93 shot attempts were from beyond the arc, and Portland made 15 of those, good for just 30% on the night. Now, Coach Billups did say, he liked those looks and he's going to live with them. But my goodness, I feel like 50 is just such a big number to be taking from beyond the arc, especially when they're not falling. When they're not falling, you need to find ways to score. And if that means getting into the rim and getting those easier shots, so be it. Now, of course, I think part of that is also the fact that, Denny Avdia wasn't playing in this one. And last update is he's questionable for tonight's game. If we get an update before the show ends, of course, we'll give that to you on his playing status. But when he's not in there and you don't have the guy who can just go in there and truly attack the rim the way he does, it does hurt you a little bit, and it does force those defenses, give them the ability to maybe not clog that paint so much. I mean, Jeremy Grant did have 7 free throw attempts. Scoot Henderson did have 7 free throw attempts. The Blazers had 32 free throws overall, but usually in a situation where they go and they get 32, 33 free throws, Denny has 11 or 12 of them, right? He's about a third of what they produce from the line, and that is because he is sitting there, ball in his hand, and he attacks the rim. That forces defense to lean in a little bit. That ends up leading to better 3-point looks because the defense isn't out there, right? So there's a lot that can happen when you don't have Denny Avdia in the lineup, and we'll see if he is a go tonight. Now, that Tumani Kamara dunk was absolutely phenomenal, right? It was a moment. There's very few moments, right, where media row all just looks at each other and is like, oh my gosh, what did you just see? And of course, that was one of them. And Ant talked about it after the game, and I got to play this clip because, man, it kind of made me laugh.
It was great. It was great. I was a little frustrated from a call, but I really couldn't react because I was still thinking about it. But it was nice though. It was nice.
It was better than that one of the ones Shaedon had last week in Washington.
Shaedon, come on now, Shaedon. Yeah, but Tumani, just because Shaedon, he jumped higher than Tumani, but Tools was contact body to body, dunking right through him. You know what I mean? So that. But Shaden, obviously, Shaden always look prettier because he jumps so high.
Those kind of dunks. We haven't seen one of those from you in a long time.
A dunk? I dunk.
Over somebody.
I don't know.
Are you too old now for that?
Be trying. Now I don't jump as much. I don't jump as much anymore. So like when I do, it just feel weird. You know what I mean? So I mean, maybe one day. Okay. Maybe one day.
I like him chuckling at Aaron Fentress saying he's too old for that. Maybe one day he'll give us another Anthony Simons dunk because we all know that he can jump out of the gym as well. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, we're going to head to the coach's corner. We're going to hear what Coach Billups had to say following that 119-112 defeat at the hands of the Detroit Pistons. We're also going to talk about some injury updates, right? We got some injury updates. Matisse Thybulle, right? Ooh, he was assigned to the Rip City Remix for about half a day. Then he came back. What does that mean for his future as the Blazers will come back home after this game? We'll let you know on the backside of the break. This is Blazers Game Day, presented by Coors Light on your home, the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here with you. Getting you ready. Blazers down in the Bay Area to take on the new look Jimmy Butler and the Golden State Warriors. That still sounds weird. It's going to take a minute to get used to. But last night, just a little less than 24 hours ago, the Blazers did play at home to the Detroit Pistons. It was a hard-fought game. They had chances late, but they couldn't get the victory. Final score in that one, 119 to 112. And if you're curious what Coach Billups had to say after that game, we got you covered because it's time now for the Coach's Corner.
Where does that one rank on toughest ones not to get this season?
Oh, I don't know where it ranks, but it was a hard fought game, man. It was a hard fought game. I thought we took us a while to kind of get going, but man, we had some great opportunities in that fourth quarter. We really did, man. I was proud of our guys for just sticking with it, continuing to make the right pass, the right play, and so many times over and over and over, we had chances to either tie it, get back, make it a one-possession game. Man, we did the right thing. We played the right way. I thought that was a goaltending call. It was a big momentum swing for us as we were kind of going, and Ant was kind of on a burner. That was a big no call, I thought, in the game, but we gave ourselves a chance. We played hard, man. Played really hard.
I heard like excuses, but did the 7-game trip, was that tough to get over early for you guys?
Well, it's always tough, and I don't make excuses, but I told one of our coaches earlier, this is like a road game. You come off a 7-game trip, 2 weeks, you turn around and got to play tomorrow on the road. I mean, we should have just played the Pistons at Oracle, and then played the Warriors tomorrow at Chase. This is a long trip. Is basically what it is. To be honest with you. So it's just terrible. Terrible scheduling thing, but it is what it is. We go out there and lay it on the line every chance we can.
John, so you guys get up 53s and you guys struggle to get in the paint and finish. You're not somebody who really pushes back on the threes, but points the paint. You got Isaiah Stewart was a monster defensively. How do you kind of overcome that when you do have tired legs and you are on this extended trip, and even though it's home, trying to keep your head down and get to the rim?
Yeah, I mean, you just like to, you want one of them to go, either your baskets at the rim or your threes. And, for us to get up 53s in this game, I'm not mad about that. But I am, and most of us know that Isaiah Stewart is a shot blocker. And even though he's short in stature, he's a really good shot blocker. He's very physical. And it took our guys a long time to realize that maybe a pump fake might help down there. And that's just youth and knowing your personnel and knowing who you're playing against. And it cost us today.
I know you guys need to take care of what you guys need to take care of, but how much are you guys kind of standings watching right now with some of the other stuff that goes on with playing stuff?
Yeah, I just where I stand on that, Sean, is I just know that we have to play good basketball. I never look at it and think like when you need help from people, you start looking around for all the help. I don't like to need nobody, So I want us to just play well and then see what happens. But we just got to keep playing well. We keep playing as hard as we did tonight, get some of those threes to go in, get some of those finishes to go in, and we look up in 2 or 3 weeks and see where we at, So that's kind of where I'm at. There could be other people that could be different on that, be watching every day. I really don't have time to be watching that every day.
And there you hear Coach Billups following the game, and it is interesting that he mentions, the play-in and the other teams, because there is still, we talked about it yesterday, that mathematical chance, right, that the Blazers get into the play-in. It's still right there. It's still a possibility. with, just 16, 17 games left, right? So the Blazers, you got to look at how they play about the next 10 and where they sit realistically. But they are 4 games back of Dallas, right? Now, I think Dallas is going to struggle a little bit with no Kyrie, no Anthony Davis. They've lost 5 in a row. Their last loss was that game to the Phoenix Suns, who is sitting there just a game and a half ahead of the Portland Trailblazers. So, or 2.5, excuse me, ahead of the Trailblazers. So Portland still has a chance right there. And again, I think it's funny that he says he's not watching because that's not necessarily what Ant said. Here's what he had to say when he was asked about it.
Yeah, today I looked at Phoenix's schedule. They scheduled pretty hard next couple of games. I'm like, all right, we pull something together. Get a couple wins. They hopefully, they lose, give ourselves a chance to move on up a little bit. Dallas losing Kyrie sucks, but I hope maybe they lose some couple games and bump themselves out. Watching Sacramento as well. I don't know. Did they win?
They're still playing.
They're still playing?
Yeah.
We're just looking at those teams we feel like possibly going to be in that bubble around the end of the season. Just seeing the schedule and seeing, if it's possible for them to get a win and look at our schedule, see if, we can get ourselves on a roll and win a couple of games and put ourselves in the best position.
You guys still have to take care of what you guys are doing, though. I think in this schedule coming up after tonight, this Golden State tomorrow, and then
I know our schedule ain't easy either, but I looked and I said nobody's schedule is easy in that bubble either. So I'm like, all right, well, it's gonna come down to we gotta really pull, string some wins together just to give ourselves a chance. And like I said, we're gonna fight.
Given how the past few seasons have gone, right. Isn't this a lot of fun? Is that one of the reasons why you're looking at this
100%. Yeah.
It's fun for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just giving ourselves a chance. You know what I mean? Like, that's all you want. You know what I mean? Give yourself a chance to be able to be in this position. So, hopefully we just keep learning from it and growing from it, and each and every year get better. But it says a lot of growth from last year, 100%, way better.
So, yeah, Ant's watching a little bit because he knows what's at stake. It's having fun playing this game right now, knowing that, there's a chance to get into the play-in, get an extra game, maybe more, and show that the team is growing, which is something he said right there at the end. It's much different right now. It's night and day, basically, than what you were at last year. I don't think if you would have told anyone prior to the season that, 66 games in now, that's what today is, game 66, that the Blazers would still have a mathematical chance and a realistic mathematical chance. Like I said, just 4 games out of making the play-in. People would probably think you're a little crazy, but here we are. That's just the fact of it. All right, this is Blazers Game Day, presented by Coors Light. You can follow the show over on YouTube, youtube.com. Type in Rip City Radio. Get in on the chat there. You can also follow me on social media at Chris J. Burkhardt. Ask me any questions, send me any comments, concerns you have. We can talk about it on the show. But we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to hit you with our Coors Cold Hard Facts. Still got our keys to the game to get to as well. This is Blazers Game Day, presented by Coors Light on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Time now for our Coors Cold Hard Facts. And for those of you who may have missed some of the news today, it's a fact that Matisse Thybulle may be a little bit closer to return than we thought. Right around the corner, it appears. So today, as the Blazers are in the Bay, they left last night, but then the news came out that they had assigned Matisse Thybulle to the Rip City Remix for returning to play conditioning. And then a few hours later, they ended up tweeting back out that he has been recalled by the team. And people are like, that makes that's weird. I mean, so what happened? What happened? What does that mean? What it means is that while the team is in the Bay and he did not travel with them, they sent him down to the Rip City Remix so he could get a run in, a full practice with them, did his thing, and then we'll be ready. So my guess, I don't think it will happen Wednesday. If it does, phenomenal. But is that this homestand, we will see possibly the return of Matisse Thybulle. And it has been an absolute minute since he has been on the court dealing with various injuries, has yet to play this season. And I know people are wondering what's taking so long. Like, it's a rolled ankle. Ankles don't take that long to rehab from. I know that he was doing well in rehab and then hurt the ankle and the injuries happen, right? But it'd be nice to see him, wouldn't it? It'd be real nice to get to see Matisse. I know Blazer fans loved him when he came over because his defense is so good, and he does those things that you need him to do on that side of the ball. But at this point, too, I mean, there should be some rust. The last game he played was of March 29th of last season. He played just 7 minutes in that game. And so it's going to be nice to have him back. And I also think that there's avenues here. There's multiple reasons you want to get him back on the court because, A, there's the obvious, what the Blazers want to do in the offseason. If there's teams that have intrigue in him, you want to show that he can go out there and he can still play, that he still has it. You want, to say, hey, we got all these guys. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. Look at what we have here. Matisse is ready to go. He still has it in him. Again, you don't have to worry. He's not damaged goods. Look, we put him in. He played. So that's part of it too. But I also think part of it is, understanding what you have on your roster, understanding if he's ready to go or not, because that's going to be important too. Because I've sit here and I've talked about this kind of regardless of where things are. The fact that he is kind of a really good guy that you want on your roster when it comes to, defense and depth, because he plays just like Tamani Kamara and Denny Avdia when it comes to defense, and Chris Murray, who I think is a pretty good defender, all things considered. Not saying he's great, but I mean, he goes out there and he's a big body, but Matisse Thybulle is like all NBA defensive level player. We've seen that out of him when he was in Philly. And if you compare that next to Tamani Kamara and coming off the bench or what have, that's pretty good to have. And if you can get him at his current contract at 11 mil, that's even better because that's a steal of a deal. Now we'll see what happens. You still have free agency. You have all this stuff, right? With him, he has a player option for the 25-26 season at 11.5 mil. We'll see if he picks that up or whatnot. But to me, it almost makes sense that he does pick that up. Why? Because you enter free agency off of a year where you haven't played since last year, and you would play 15 games in the season or whatever, depending on when he gets in. Don't know if that's enough to prove your worth on the open market. So you pick up the player option and see where it goes from there, get more playing time, and then you go into free agency the next year as an unrestricted free agent. Regardless, again, plenty of intrigue because now you got to figure out what the Blazers are going to do with Matisse Thybulle, right? Now, if he gets in, I think that's great because I like Matisse. I really like Matisse. And defensively, like I said, if you can find situations where you put him and Tamani Kamara on the floor at the same time, that's going to be a defensive duo. That's going to be fun as hell to watch. So I'm looking forward to that. Hope he makes his return on this homestand. And it's a good homestand for the Blazers, right? So tonight they will be in Golden State to take on the Warriors. They still have one more game against the Warriors before their season series is done. But after this game in Golden State, they return on Wednesday to face the New York Knicks. Then they get a nice little reprieve, right? No game Thursday, no game Friday, no game Saturday. But then on Sunday, they will be in Toronto to take on the Raptors, or excuse me, not in Toronto, home to take on the Raptors, and then the Wizards, and then the Memphis Grizzlies, the Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics, and the Cleveland Cavaliers to round out that homestand. But there's some winnable games in there, and the Blazers can take advantage of that. Then they hit the road for their last true road trip of the year: Sacramento, New York, Atlanta, Toronto, Chicago, back home against San Antonio, on the road for a one-off. That's why I said the last one was their last true road trip against Utah. And then they end the season 2 games against the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers, both at home at Moda Center. So that's what you're looking at. Nice stretch of games here at home for the Blazers after this game tonight against the Golden State Warriors, and a chance to maybe turn some heads. So where does Matisse Thybulle fit in there? Remains to be seen. Does he return at all? That still remains to be seen. We haven't seen that officially. However, to actually get some real news about Matisse, not just a injury update, he'll be reevaluated in another 2 weeks, but to see it come across the board that, hey, he was sent down to the Rip City Remix to do a little rehab while we were out of town. He'll rejoin the team as soon as we get back, and we'll see what goes from there. It's really good to see. Really good to see. I want to see him get back on the court. And as I mentioned, the Blazers will play on Wednesday. Then they got a little bit of a break where they don't play Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Then they play Toronto on Sunday. So if you're in town, you should be at Chiles Center, right, watching some 6A OSAA state championship basketball, right? You should be doing that. 5A will be at Linfield University those same days. And then at Forest Grove, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you'll have 5A basketball. So, if, got some teams here pretty close to town, get in on the action. Go watch some high school hoops. Come say hi to me. I'll be at probably all 3 of those gyms at various different times. But that's enough high school talk, because you do have the Blazers taking on the Golden State Warriors tonight. And it's going to be a really interesting game because Golden State has suddenly been rejuvenated, right? Like, they're winners of 4 in a row. They've won 9 of their last 10. The Jimmy Butler addition has been crucial for them. The weird part of their 9 of their last 10, their one loss is against the 76ers, who are kind of a dumpster fire right now. But Jimmy Butler, boy, howdy, he has been perfect for them. It's almost akin to like what Clay was in his prime. Good defender, good offensive guy. Clay, not what he used to be after the Achilles and the ACL injuries, but you still have Jimmy Buckets, who can go out there and get buckets. It's his nickname. Defensively, he's still the same guy who can lock people down. And you pair that with Draymond Green, who is, again, not as good as he once was, but he's still good defensively. Like, he's still better than a lot of guys on that side of the ball. Still got Stephen Curry, who I think will be able to shoot that 3 ball until he retires and then some, right? It was just a perfect fit. And so now you got Golden State, who goes from, are we a play-in team? What are we doing here? To right now, tied with Minnesota, but they're sitting 6th in the standings. 3 games back at Houston, but if they can keep climbing, maybe pick up a little bit of steam, keep climbing, get into the 5 spot. 4 games behind Memphis for the 4 spot, right? So, and Memphis 4-6 in their last 10. Houston 5-5. The only team in the Western Conference who has matched the Golden State Warriors 9-1 over their last 10 is Oklahoma City, who is also 9-1 in their last 10. And only one team is better in their last 10. That is Cleveland, who is 10-0 over their last 10 games. Winners of 14 straight. Incredible work that they're doing there in Cleveland. But the point is, with the renewed interest in the season, as it were, for Golden State, because now I think that they believe, and the results are bearing out, that they're a very firm playoff team, a team that can turn heads, a team that if they got hot at the right time is going to be a hell of an out. The Blazers are going to have to play a perfect game tonight to get out of San Francisco with a dub, and it'd be great if they did. The only dub should be the one that the Blazers take home, right? But it is going to be nice to see Jimmy Butler in a Golden State uniform tonight. See how that goes. I know Blazer fans have paid attention to him for a minute after all the drama and fiascos that were coming out of Miami ever since the whole Dame thing, when he wanted to play there and it didn't work, and then you watch the whole thing crumble. But man, if there was a team that was going to get rich, like the rich get richer, Golden State getting Butler is one. And then, of course, there's the Los Angeles Lakers, who go and get Luka Doncic, and that thing is going to find a way to click. And we can sit here and we can dog the Lakers all you want. You can dog old man LeBron, despite the fact he's putting up historic numbers for a 40-year-old. But the Lakers are currently second in the West. Who saw that coming? They are 8-2 in their last 10 and 12 games behind Oklahoma City. They're not going to catch them. But it's a tight race, realistically, because you look at L.A., Golden State, or excuse me, L.A. and Denver, both 12 games back. And then you have Memphis 13 back. Then you have Houston 14 back. So 2 games separates you from being a 5 seed or a 2 seed right now. These games are going to get interesting as we get down to crunch time. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, we're going to hit you with our keys to the game. What do the Blazers have to do to take down the Golden State Warriors? I will let you know on the backside of the break. This is Blazers Game Day presented by Coors Light on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, keys to the game time here on Blazers Game Day. What do the Blazers need to do to get a victory over the Golden State Warriors? Now, what's interesting is that the Warriors, they aren't the Warriors of old, right? In the fact that they're not lighting up the scoreboard in the way that you remember. Currently, the number one team in the league in scoring is the Cleveland Cavaliers at 122.9. That's a lot of points. The Warriors all the way down at 16th at 113. Perspective-wise, that is just 3 more points than your Portland Trailblazers average at 110. However, the Golden State Warriors still live and die by the 3. Okay, they average 42.4 attempts, which is the third most in the league right now. So they are going to get the ball to Steph Curry. They're going to get the ball to Jimmy. Everybody's going to shoot. They average 15 makes as well, which is 4th most in the league. So they are going to still offensively look like the Warriors that you would expect. So you have to make sure you defend that 3-point line and defend it well. Secondarily, should Denny Avdia play, and the latest update is that he is more likely to be a game time decision, unless a report comes out soon. Casey Holdall did report the update from Chase Center that Jeremy Grant is out, but Denny is still TBD. Now, if Denny plays, you got to make sure you attack the rim, get to that free throw line. This Golden State Warrior team does foul a lot. They are the 24th worst team in the NBA, 23rd, at 18.3. I'm struggling. You got to read the right number, 19.6 fouls. Interestingly enough, you know who else averages 19.6 fouls per game? The Portland Trailblazers. Right. So, and we've seen that. We've seen the Portland fouls, right? So if you're the Blazers, if Denny is in this game especially, give the ball to Scoot Henderson. He did a good job in that game against Detroit. Attack the rim, force Golden State into those personal foul situations, and then get those free throw trips. That's what Denny has absolutely excelled at all year long, and you're going to need that tonight. And then another word that I've used a lot in these keys to the game is rebounding, and how it can be very, very key and crucial for your Trailblazers. And what I usually say is I want to see the Blazers win that rebound battle, right? That's what I wanted them to do against Detroit. They did not win that rebound battle against the Detroit. In fact, Detroit had 54 boards to 41 from the Blazers, right? So they got worked by the Detroit Pistons. Now, Detroit has some really good rebounders, guys like Jalen Duren, guys like Isaiah Stewart, who was a force. He was a force down low as well with 5 blocks. But you're playing now this Golden State team that at 46 rebounds per game is the 3rd best rebounding team in the NBA. No DeAndre Ayton, no Robert Williams. It's going to be incumbent on Donovan Clingan to have a very, very good game on the glass tonight. Because if they do not show any effort on that side of the ball, they will be destroyed on the glass. Now, what you need specifically is Donovan Clingan and Tamani Kamara, who's been a good rebounder, to really, really work the defensive glass. Because one thing that Golden State does exceptionally well when it comes to their rebounding, they, like I said, they're a top rebounding team in the league. They are 3rd overall. But offensive rebounding is where they really make a statement there. They are the 4th best offensive rebounding team in the league, just ahead of your Portland Trailblazers, and that is important. They are the 17th best, if you were, so middle of the road defensive rebounding team, but they make a killing on the offensive glass. So you're going to need Donovan Clingan to really have a good game. And we know Donovan Clingan can be really good on the offensive glass as well. That's why the Blazers numbers are good. We're going to have that defensive rebounding number up there, because this is the type of game that if you look at that number against Detroit, right, when they out-rebounded you 54-41, I mean, this is the type of game where that can repeat itself, where you can have one of those 55-38 rebounding games, a 60-40, something crazy. I don't think you're going to have that many opportunities, because Golden State can shoot the heck out of the ball. And Portland, I think, is ready for a hot shooting game, because they haven't shot the ball very well lately. So you might limit it overall rebounding opportunities. But this is the type of game where if you lose that rebounding battle by 15 or more, odds are you got beat by 15 or more as well. And you don't want that to happen. So we'll see what happens. Those are my keys to the game. What are your keys? Go to youtube.com. Type them in the chat where Freya says, hopefully Denny will play. Portland is 1-3 without him. That's right. They when he's out, man, it's a completely different team. I think you saw that in that game against Detroit because it impacts not only what they do defensively, it impacts what they do offensively because he's so good. Again, when it comes to pushing tempo and attacking the rim, which you need. If you attack the rim and you do it effectively, which he does, defenses tend to sag in. It's going to lead to better three-point looks when you do get those shots. So he is huge for that. Not only that, as Sean Hyken said earlier when he was on with Chad, I mean, he's basically a 6'9" point guard out there. Very good to have that type of player. All right, the music means it's time to go, though. But don't go anywhere because coming up next, Chad Doing will have the Trailblazers